Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another animation analysis video. And ladies and gentlemen, we are finally getting to take a look at the brand new Tanabata LR, the Int Super Saiyan 4 and Super Saiyan 4 Full Power Goku. Obviously a standby skill unit, a transformation unit. I am very, very excited to take a look at this guy. I apologize that this video is not going up earlier. Unfortunately, I had a ton of complications last night with the data download with my technology not behaving as it should. So, we are doing the animation analysis video today after the live stream and after the unit is hopefully in your box and you are enjoying him. I don't know what happened to my voice there. I think Super Saiyan 4 is possessing me. Let's go ahead and get into this though. A couple of things to preface this video with. For one, obviously, we are using Dokkan World's version of the animations. Obviously, you know, shout out to the boy, Dokkan World. Of course, if you'd like to check out this video all the way through, it will be in the description, of course. But at the time of this recording, since I'm recording this before the live stream, there isn't like the normal Twitter video with all the animations or stuff like that. So, you know, this is just what we're going to be using. And Dokkan World doesn't care if I use his videos anyway, obviously, as long as I just throw it in the description. So, besides that as well, we will be going through the animations here, and there is a lot to cover today. So we will be going through this at a pretty good pace, I would say. But we do actually, because I waited a little bit to do this video, we actually have the comparison from the boy IKevinX, which we will be watching when we watch these super attacks. And I gotta say, I watched this video through earlier, and holy moly, they did a fantastic job not only mimicking the original animations, but also taking some stuff and combining it in a really cool way to make a very fluid card. So let's go ahead and hop into our boy here. First of all, as per usual, I always like to preface this video with the fact that I am by no means an animation professional or anything like that. I just look at Dokkan animations all the time, and I feel like I know what makes a good animation when it comes to Dokkan Battle. I really, really like this guy's animations. And by the way, the last thing I'll say before I actually get into the video proper here is I apologize if you hear my fan in the background, but it is hot as the hills where I live right now. So I'm sorry, you just gotta deal with it, bro. Otherwise, your boy gonna be melting throughout this entire video. But yes, this guy's animations are absolutely fantastic. I gotta be honest, in this entire video, I'm very, very happy to say that there is so much more good that I have to say in terms of things that I like about these animations than stuff that I don't like, because I feel like recently there's been a lot more things when it comes to the animations that I've had problems with, and they've been really slacking on animations. So it is good to see that, I suppose, where they are lacking in the monthly Dokkan Fest department, they are certainly putting their resources in the big celebrations, and I think that that is pretty clear to see with Goku's animations on display here. Everything looks really, really good, from the card art to the super attacks to the standby skill, the transformation finish skills, the non-transformation finish skills, which was what we were looking at right here. This guy has like a million animations. It is kind of crazy how many things that they gave this guy. And again, it's pretty cool that they decided to kind of combine him a little bit, because obviously he's sort of based on the Baby fight, but also obviously he didn't go full power against Baby. So I think it's a very good representation of Super Saiyan 4 Goku throughout all of GT. I think that's probably like the best way to put it, because it seems like that they've been doing a lot of animations that are like as accurate as possible to the anime source material. But if it's a card that either, you know, really has a lot of versions of it already, or maybe just needs one solid one in the game, it kind of seems like they're trying to make a overall encompassing version of the character when it comes to something that kind of represents them throughout the entire series that they're in. And I think that is more or less what we have with the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, obviously including Forku and Full Power, and Oob a little bit in there. Obviously, Oob could definitely still get his own card because he still has a bunch of stuff left. But obviously including him in there is very cool too. And we also are getting Baby. I guess we will talk about Baby's animation real quick. I mean, it's nothing crazy, to be honest with you. Ironically enough, though, I will show you just for the sake of showing you it real quick, because we're not going to analyze it too much, because this video is already going to be incredibly long, as it is with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. But Baby's animation does look pretty good. You know, nothing too crazy. It is definitely unfeatured unit level, but it is still very good for a unfeatured unit, right? And I will say, I believe IKevinX actually has it at the beginning of this video. It is actually super accurate to the anime. Ironically enough, kind of combining some stuff from Super Baby 2, Baby 1, and literal baby right before he actually, you know, takes a proper form, which is kind of interesting, that they actually like combined all of these different animations. So ironically enough, just like Goku, kind of a good representation of Baby throughout the entire saga, even though obviously, you know, he's not transforming or anything like that. But the animation is still very solid, if I do say so myself. I think they definitely did a good job with it. It's pretty good for an unfeatured unit. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the boy Super Saiyan 4 Goku here. We are going to be taking a look at his super attacks first, as this is technically what you would be getting if you were looking at this guy, right? Like right out the gate, right? You obviously aren't activating the standby skill right away. So we have Goku fly in here, which looks pretty good. And I think the first thing that I'm going to have to say about this, right, is that all of the assets throughout this entire thing are very stylized to the GT art style. Like when I look at this card, it screams GT. The 8th anniversary GT boys kind of also had the same effect, but by golly, it just screams the GT art style to me. We have a fantastic punch here with Goku. By the way, I just want to note with this punch too, look at how amazing, right? They have the beginning of the punch, or his arm is very, very thick, and they have these darker black lines because it's obviously so close. And then they kind of transition into this farther away punch with the arm extended a little bit, and you can actually see it extend out onto the screen. That definitely gives it a lot more impact, right? And it's a very cool angle as well, obviously, because, you know, it's not just like directly punching forward from Goku. With this, right, I think that this is just the way that punches should be done when it comes to Dokkan animations. It just looks really, really good, and it definitely feels like it has a lot of impact. Here, we even have small Goku, and lo and behold, the animations for this actually still look really, really good. Some very simple punches and kicks from Goku, but very fluid, right? There isn't a moment of animation that I see like these weird pose changes that at least aren't in the right places, right? To me, this looks like a very fluid animation, right? And the parts where Goku jumps between poses look good and look like they should be there. We have Goku teleport behind the Seven and obviously give him an uppercut with a little bit of minimal movement on the fist there too, which is pretty nice, because this definitely could have just been a PNG that they slid into the enemy, but no, they actually bothered to animate this, which is awesome, right? Because this is the type of things that make animations feel so much more lifelike. Okay, so we have this scene, and I'm going to be curious to see, by the way, we will probably go through and watch after each animation. We'll take a look at it at the comparison to the actual anime. I will say this face looks a little bit weird, so I'm going to be curious to see if this is just looking this weird with like how his chin is, because that's just how it is in the anime. I'm guessing that's probably the case. But yeah, we have Goku speak real quick, and then we transition to the card art there, which after the card art disappears, we have this very, very cool shot. First of all, the impact frame before Goku actually like properly powers up here. Let me go back. Looks super cool. This looks like this could honestly be like, I don't know, a lot of different Super Saiyan 4s with just the silhouette, but I really, really like this look. Because it's not often that we see the Super Saiyan 4 hair like kind of flowing upward. It's sort of like when you see the Super Saiyan hair in a different look than normal, or you kind of see like Goku's base form hair in the Super Saiyan look with that shape, right? It's just weird seeing Goku's Super Saiyan 4 hair up, but it's cool because obviously, you know, the wind is blowing around and whatnot. And the actual aura, right, for this section looks fantastic. They absolutely nailed it, I think, A very, very good job as well. A very good job having Goku fly towards the screen, right, with the actual transition just being pretty far away. And obviously it looks good because it looks like Goku's just leaning forward, right? There could maybe be one more frame in between then, I suppose, but I still think it looks fine. I will say Goku's face again does look a little bit strange here. I think it might just be the angle and also probably a combination of that's how it looks in the anime. But it definitely looks a little bit interesting to me there for sure with that particular asset. But we have this very cool moment, which I know is a very iconic scene for Super Saiyan 4 Goku, where he flies super duper fast, right? And it's kind of just the speed lines to represent that. And the impact against the enemy is fantastic. You can also see even in there too, there is a little bit of that Goku fist moving, right? That kind of really emphasizes just the sort of like slow-mo look at this, where you're seeing this almost in slow motion as Goku is jamming his fist into the enemy, right? I think that that is really, really cool, and a very, very nice attention to detail as well, because obviously then, well, I will say this transition is a little bit strange, right? Going to the like backwards face, right? Because obviously this would kind of imply that the Cyberman hasn't gone anywhere, even though I feel like the enemy should be flying away from this. But I guess, to be fair, he could just be like sticking them in the air with him, I suppose. But this shot of Goku turning around is fantastic. The way that they fade the assets is great because obviously it takes it right from the anime in that sort of slow motion effect that they use for this particular scene, right? With it fading in between. That is really, really cool. We then have the hand come into frame for Goku with a very, very nice shot of him standing over the enemy. And you can actually see his arm move a little bit as he blasts the enemy and they fly down into the rocks below with the rocks scattering everywhere. That looks really, really good. So let's see. I'm assuming that this would be in the same order, right? I would think so, because obviously it's the, you know, regular super attacks first. Yeah, very, very cool. He also does pause in this video a little bit to like kind of highlight the frames that are done really, really well. But yeah, you can see right here is an example of a shot that is combined from something with a fight from one of the Shadow Dragons. Yeah, that is literally how Goku's face looks in the anime. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, very, very cool that they did this awesome impact frame, like just exactly like how they did it in the anime. And then, of course, this fantastic punch against Baby. Yeah, okay, I guess it is how it plays out in the anime, so that makes sense. Like, this shot is just so well done. It's, like, almost scene for scene, right? It is kind of a shame, I will say, that, like, Dokkan sprites are the way that they are, because it would be really cool if you could have, like, the Dokkan sprite actually react in the way that Baby did here, right? Like, getting hit back and then going, wah, as he flies away, right? That would be really cool. But, yeah, they did such a good job mimicking this, from the actual like original source material here. And we will see more stuff like this, by the way, where it kind of is combining different scenes together to kind of make one complete animation. And sometimes when Dokkan does that, it doesn't turn out as cohesive or comprehensive, but this time I think it actually flows super well. And I guess Goku's face also in that scene too that we just saw with him charging forward looks like that, because I mean that is basically how it looks in the anime. So yeah, very, very well done on the 12 key super attack. Moving on to the 18 key, we first have Goku standing here. I really like this bit of perspective. Dokkan has done a great job kind of nailing the sort of like layered look of the assets, right? Where it actually looks like Goku is standing in front of this rock, and then the background and the foreground is kind of moving with the camera, right? To kind of spin a little bit. Very, very nice kind of perspective there. This is definitely a very, very good shot of Goku right here with this devious smile. We, of course, then have him scream, which also looks really, really good. Dare I say that these animations honestly even look better than the original source material on certain points, I would even say. The teleport in looks fantastic, and we have Goku slap the heck. I mean, this is more like a punch, but it looks kind of like he just gave him a little smack upside the head. Looks very, very good, right? That movement is so well done. And again, this is an asset that isn't even that big or close to the camera, right? Not that high quality. And they do such a good job with the movement, making it fluid, and obviously making the punch feel like it has quite a bit of impact from the motion lines that were on there to the bits of debris that kind of fall off to. Looks really, really great. You can also see Goku then rapid punch the enemy there, going from one to another. And again, like, the impact that these punches have is just so nice, right? It actually feels like the Goku is really given a beatdown, right? Like, especially with this one. And again, that little bit of follow through right there is something that a lot of Dokkan animations lack. But this one does a fantastic job of. And then we get a first-person POV. You're getting punched by Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which looks really, really cool, which leads into this fantastic shot. This is a pretty iconic pose, or at least, like, facial expression for Super Saiyan 4 Goku, I feel like, because I definitely remember this one. It's kind of ingrained into my brain. Yeah, then this very cool, I like how they keep this consistent, right, with this punch here, from the enemy getting punched by Goku. Here, right, you can kind of see this pink and purple background. Obviously, it does transition to the sky, but when we go back to Goku, you can see that that purple and pink background remains. I really, really like that little touch there. I think that that is definitely a very cool way to kind of keep some consistency with the animations. Definitely very, very well done. We also then have Goku teleport off screen, which I think that shot is so well done. And look at the blur effect that they do here. They don't just have a couple of colored lines there. They don't just make the actual asset blurry. It quite literally looks like how a character would look when they're teleporting in. And it is very cool colored in. This almost kind of looks like if somebody like made Super Saiyan 4 Goku out of chalk on their like driveway or something like that. That's honestly kind of the look that this is giving off, which is really, really cool. We then have Goku come into frame and give the old whack to the Cybermen, which again, the movement on that hit looks really, really good. Very, very satisfying. Again, it feels like that there is quite a bit of impact to that punch. You can also see Goku throw his arms back after that too. We do have the Carter appear once again. And then we go to this fantastic Kamehameha. Everything about this, bro, looks so good. I know that this Super is definitely in Dokkan already because I feel like I've seen this exact same animation for Super Saiyan 4 Goku before. But by golly, I think that the Dokkan version of this guy is definitely Dokkan's best version of this animation, right? From the coloring of Goku's hair, right, kind of making it a little bit more blue, to obviously then the pullback. And not only does the asset look fantastic, but then the angle that they do, right, where Goku pulls his arms back, and this transition is perfect, right? You don't really notice this with the naked eye when you're actually watching this animation all the way through. It looks very, very good, and then obviously transitioning to, you know, Goku kind of zooming in and then sort of going around him for the Kamehameha to go back to the Kamehameha behind him and then bring his arms forward, right? The camera work is very, very well done. Well, camera work, you know what I mean. But yeah, the Kamehameha effect looks really good. I like how it finally looks when it obviously launches off of the blast. That looks fantastic as well. The different streaks of blue in there look great. They did a fantastic job with that. And if we go back to the animations from the anime again, very, very well done. Basically like one-to-one with the anime almost. Like obviously there will always be a couple of minor differences, right? But even like look at this, bro. That looks so much better than the anime, in my opinion, right? For the Kamehameha section, let's go back to where he actually launches it off, right? For this particular section here, dude, it looks so much better in Dokkan, man. Oh my gosh, they did such a good job with that animation. Very, very well done. Okay, so we have now the standby skill activation, where everybody flies down in to help Goku. I will say, couple of things. One, I know that, I'll just show you it here because it's relevant to what I'm saying. I know that they quite literally just float down, but I always, like, kind of hate how it looks. I don't know, it just looks like a little weird with just their, like, straight bodies kind of coming down. However, I will say they do mimic how they do it in the anime in this frame you're about to see here, where they kind of land, right, in their feet, sort of, like, are facing directly down towards the ground, and then they kind of flatten out as they land. The anime version does that, and the Dokkan version does that as well, which is really, really cool to see, because I know for a fact before they did not do that, because in the standby skill with Vegeta for the 8th anniversary GT boys, that was something that I had a problem with when they landed. The PNG source went and then landed on the ground, and it didn't really feel like, you know, they had like the proper a little bit of like, you know, preparing to land on the ground like they do in that animation. So I'm glad that they actually did bother including that. As well, always gotta mention it, bro, they actually added some fruit punch in this animation, which is really, really cool. I can't say what it's actually called because I'll get hit with the fat yellow money sign. But this shot of Goku looks so fantastic, and I think that they did a very, very good job with it, 100%. We have Goku giving his little speech here, obviously for the standby skill, and then after Goku is done talking, we have the arrival of Oob with this very nice little squint, excuse me, at the end. All right, before Oob comes in, I forgot about this part. We have Goku stanced up here, which I will say, I'm going to be curious again to see if it's just like the anime, because after this scene, when they're all beginning to give him energy, Goku is like kind of standing a little bit weird. I like the little fist too. The way that Goku is hunched over in the next scene right here, it looks so strange. He kind of looks like he's dead. And then when they are obviously powering up, you know, he then stands straight up. And I like the little blur effect that they had because obviously it's a lot more of that anime-esque slow motion. This shot is really, really cool. Obviously very reminiscent of GT. And I love the angle at play here. It's very weird seeing Blue Goku in this scene. I will admit, I'm sure it's probably just because he played Legendary Goku event to get these animations. But it just looks so weird in this context. But yeah, obviously the smoke coming off them looks really, really good. And then, of course, this is when we have Oob fly in from the sky. The aura on Oob looks fantastic, if I do say so myself. His assets also look really, really nice. The little bit of the ha at the end, protecting everybody, giving Goku energy looks great. This whole scene right here is just so well done, from the way that Goku looks to the way that the gang looks in the background, right? To the way that Oob looks and the aura from the actual Saiyans, to Oob's aura as well, to the smoke on the ground, right? Even Goku's hair and the gang's hair also kind of flowing in the wind too. Like, that's definitely something that I feel like they could have neglected to add in, right? With everybody's hair flowing. Funny enough, Oob's hair doesn't actually flutter in the wind, which is kind of ironic, but everybody in the background, their hair is absolutely fluttering in the wind. So I'm glad that they added that little detail, because obviously you're more focused on Oob in this scene. We'll actually we will watch Oob's nullification in the actual one with the standby skill here, since it's so short. We'll kind of do both animations at once. Yeah, this is a quick little animation. It's nothing crazy. I think it's probably like the weakest out of all of these animations, but I mean, it's literally just an attack nullify and Oob's just kind of there, right? I feel like the push up a little bit of the energy could have been a little bit better, but it's not too bad. And obviously then Oob kind of dispelling the energy around him. It's definitely the weakest one, but it is also the shortest one. So I feel like it's a little bit unfair to say that, you know what I mean? Anyway, with this scene obviously looking almost exactly like the original, obviously Goku just stands up. Looks really, really good too. And let's see, does Goku do? I guess he is the funny lean, huh? Interesting. I did not actually remember that. But yeah, so very accurate to the anime. You can see that also the way that he stands up also kind of has that little bit of like anime-esque sort of slow motion. It's kind of funny to see too that this particular scene right here, right? Oob doesn't actually come in that particular way, right? You can see that Baby is here. That makes sense why there's random holes in the ground like this. I was like, huh? But yeah, because obviously Baby is coming out of this one. But Oob flies in on the Dokkan version, and then in this one he kind of jumps from the background. Oh, hi. Hi, Omega. Obviously in this version, right, he kind of jumps from behind the group to then cover them up. I will say it is kind of interesting that I just noticed, right? You can see that this is Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. But you can see that Gohan is actually in the other outfit here. Or no, wait. Yeah, that is Gohan. It's interesting that they decided to change his outfit for this. I mean, I guess the other outfit for him is a little bit more, like, iconic for GT. And I guess it also kind of flows better with the rest of the card's animations. But I think that that is something interesting regardless. And obviously, they do a very good job of this with Oob. And then, of course, with this, It is interesting because they do use a scene that's like not exactly what's happening to Oob, right? He's not getting attacked by energy here. It is just like a constrict, which is kind of interesting that they decided to use the animation for that. I think that's probably the only one that, in my opinion, like the GT one looks a little bit better. But nonetheless, it still looks pretty good in the Dokkan version. Then we have the Finish Skill 1, where we have the boys power down, and Goku is like, nothing happened. So this shot, first of all, looks really good. And then we also had the pan up of Goku looking at his hands, obviously having gotten more energy. Very, very nice looking shot. And I love this one as well with Goku's aura shooting up, and the come at me look is so cool. Definitely very, very nicely animated. I like that they also animated his hair here too, because that's definitely something that could have just kind of been in place for sure. Okay, so he does do the finish skill 1 and then the finish skill 2. I guess that makes sense because obviously if you got off the finish skill 1, right, and it ended like this, you would just go back to the regular Super Saiyan 4 animations. So I guess that makes sense that obviously then just the finish skill 2 would come after that. But yeah, again, in coordination with the anime, it is kind of interesting because literally the only thing that's basically taken from that scene, kinda, right, is this one, right, where Goku's obviously pointing to himself there. Because obviously, what actually happens is that they all come in and then give Goku his energy, and he goes full power. So it's kind of interesting that, right, they sort of have their own original animation for this where they all go down. And it is nice that they animated them breathing, actually. I did not even notice that before. It's kind of hard to do it in the frame by frame, but if you look at it when they're, like, powered down, right, they actually breathe a little bit, which is cool. But yeah, obviously, like, this shot is basically original to Dokkan until this. So that's kind of interesting. But obviously, I mean, like, you know, how else would they do it? Because, of course, you know, he doesn't not get the full power transformation in the anime. But anyway, the finish skill 2 obviously is where they have the same little introduction bit. And then they have pan run in, right? Obviously directly from the anime, and obviously standing behind Goku to then give him a little bit more energy, which looks really, really good. Hydrate or dihydrate. The aura swirling around before it goes to Super Saiyan 4 full power. And I gotta say, holy cow, let me pause right here because they include it throughout this entire animation, and it is so cool. They have a little bit of like a heat wave effect, and I do believe that this is something that is in the anime, right? We'll see it again in a second in the comparison. But, right, you can see that on Goku's back, right, it kind of looks like he's almost like a flag, like this PNG of Goku is kind of moving like that. And you can kind of see the heat flowing over Goku's body is a really easy way to see it, right? Like right here. This is a really cool shot with all of them kind of looking on in the background. But yeah, you can see Goku's body kind of like moves a little bit weird. Obviously, it's kind of supposed to be like the heat, the energy coming off of Goku there. And they also have it for this shot too, right? Where Goku is talking, right? And obviously flashing red from the full power. You can see his body is kind of like waving a little bit from the heat. I think that that is a super cool effect that Dokkan added in. Definitely like something that they could have easily forgotten, but it's just those little details, man. I'm telling you, that always bring this type of stuff together. Then we have Goku stanced up. I will say this asset does feel like the edges are a lot more red than they were for this one, right? But then again, this is a little bit of a lower quality asset. Not that it looks bad, obviously, but it's definitely a little bit more of a different shade of red, excuse me. But yeah, we obviously have Goku talking to the enemy before we have the final shot with Goku's big old nose here. I don't know why he was animated with such a big nose in this scene. It's so like off-putting, to be honest. But yeah, obviously Goku talking looks really good. I will say even his hair here looks like weirdly spiky. It almost kind of looks like low poly graphics, like PS1 Goku hair or something like that. Obviously, like the asset doesn't look low quality in terms of the pixels, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, let's take a look at that in the actual full version. It is cool, by the way, that they technically updated the Tech SSR Goku's art there. But yeah, obviously Goku getting the bit of energy, Pan running in, and it's basically like frame by frame the same here, right? They do change a couple of things, right? As you can see, obviously, everybody is standing up behind Goku rather than being on the ground. The aura is like a slight bit different, but I mean, obviously, it's basically the same. As well, I would say here is another example of the Dokkan version actually looking better in terms of the face. Goku's face looks so much better looking than in this version, if I do say so myself. There isn't as much like furry detail here, but Goku's face definitely looks like a lot more, I don't know, how it's supposed to rather than this version of it, right? It is kind of interesting that they show Goku's full face for this scene, whereas obviously in the anime they kind of cut it off right at just Goku's neck down. I do think that is interesting, and obviously this scene is supposed to mimic this. Of course, it looks a little bit weird because, of course, you know, baby's not standing there and the enemy is just floating in the sky, but nonetheless, again, basically frame for frame. And I guess Goku's nose looks so big because it kind of does look a little bit big here, but it looks more proportional in this one than this one. But yeah, I don't know, I think it's just because Goku's hair is cut off like differently here, but certainly like on this one the hair looks a little bit weird. Something also, maybe his eyes are a little bit crooked. This is maybe the only shot in this whole thing that I was kind of like, ooh, what happened on this one, bro? But nonetheless, obviously, very, very accurate to the original source material. And now we move on to the full power super attacks. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm so glad they included this shot. This is such a iconic moment. It may or may not be the thumbnail of this video, but it's such a cool shot. Obviously, I think a lot of people remember Super Saiyan 4 in this particular moment, and it looks really great. I love the wind animation on it, and I like how the glow kind of stays on Goku too. They actually fade, which is interesting, back to this shot of Goku being really, really small here. And then we actually have a reference to fighters, which you'll see in a minute. This is when Goku blasts off here, right? I think that this animation actually looks pretty good and honestly fits, because there's a lot of times when we kind of take a look at these animations and I really feel like that it doesn't fit, right? Let me actually show you in just this, right? So obviously this is very accurate to the anime. It is interesting, I will say, that Goku is standing on a rock like up high for this one, but he's kind of flat. But I guess that makes more sense because this is kind of the area that they were standing when they were doing, you know, obviously giving him the power, giving Goku more energy. So I like that consistency that Dokkan has, even though it takes away from the anime. What did I just say, bro? The anime accuracy a little bit. I like that they keep it consistent more, because I think that that just makes the card feel more fluid and it makes it flow better. Besides that, though, obviously, then we cut to this shot of Goku. Of course, right, obviously, Goku, you know, doesn't actually have, like, Super Saiyan 4 in the game. And I think that this might actually be a mod. Maybe, unless this is, I think it's just that they modded the skin to be a little bit more cel shaded rather than how it actually looks in fighters. But I believe this is just from like GT Goku Super Attack, if I remember. I don't know, I'm not a fighters expert when it comes to fighters animations, in terms of like what characters or what animations come from like what specific part of the character's kit in fighters. But obviously, this being a reference to fighters, I will say it is a little bit interesting, right? Interestingly enough, IKevinX feels like it's a little out of place here. I do like how they make it a little bit more GT-esque, right? Like you can see the aura definitely looks a little bit more Dragon Ball GT stylized. I do think that out of all of the fighters animations, there might be like one that's a little bit better than this one. But I do think that it's just the cut that feels kind of weird for me. Like going from this particular shot here to then this one is a little jarring. I wish they had a better transition for that. I feel like if there was one, then this animation would feel a little bit more not as just like out of the blue. But I feel like if it just, ironically enough, like I don't want to say cut out the beginning part because obviously this part is super sick. But I feel like if the animation just started here, it would maybe be a little bit more fluid. Because obviously, then it makes more sense that Goku's already up in the sky, because then obviously he comes down and, you know, gives a kick. So I think it does fit for, like, obviously how the animation plays out, but it is just definitely a little bit weird in terms of the way that it is cut. I think that that's definitely the best way to put it. As well, I will say, by the way, I just got a note the rotoscoping on that is fantastic. When we get to the part where Goku spins around here, right, this actually kind of feels 3D, which obviously it's not actually, right, like they don't have models or something like that, but they definitely do a very good job of kind of making it seem that way, that it sort of looks like it's a 3D model, but it is actually just basically a trick of the eye when it comes to the assets. But yeah, then we have Goku blast off, which I like as well. When he powers up and has the aura around him, they actually kind of change the way that he looks too, which is really nice, right? You can see that it's kind of like a darker color palette for the aura around him, whereas to before, right, obviously he kind of didn't have that dark look, right? Here's a very good example, right, going from this to this. Definitely like that a lot, and again, very stylized 2D GT look. So after we have the card art appear on screen, we have the kick animation play, right, where Goku comes down from the sky. This is probably the only part from the super attacks that I really wish would have been a little bit different, because it is quite literally just Goku PNG sliding, and then they change it into the actual kick out, right? I just kind of wish whether it was more frames in between this of Goku actually giving his foot out, or not just having the PNG slide, right? Maybe animating that bit of Goku a little bit more, because in the Super Saiyan 4 section, they were cooking with the small animations being animated, right? So it's kind of weird to me that they don't do that here. But anyway, obviously we have Goku kick down, right, which looks really good. And funny enough, talking about that quite literally here when we get to this section, really like those anime lines, by the way. We have Goku's arms actually move a little bit from obviously the kick, right? And it looks great. Definitely looks fantastic. Goku twisting his body to then look at the enemy. And I will say, this cut is maybe a little bit jarring, right? Obviously going from the enemy just kind of standing there in front of Goku to then Goku's like, ah! This kind of feels like a meme almost, with like the Goku's just standing there staring at him, and then pop, 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 pop. I don't know. It's just a little bit of a weird cut. But I mean, like, to be fair, it still flows okay, I think, because obviously it's believable that Goku would go from this pose to then, like, rapid punching the enemy. But the rapid punch obviously looks super clean, super well animated. The hair looks good. The punches feel like they have a lot of impact. And they actually kind of back out to a look of it from far away, which is really cool, too. This, I will say, I need to watch that in full motion. This scene where Goku backs up, because I don't know if this is them doing the funny fade effects, or if this is supposed to be like in the anime. Yeah, okay, that actually does look really good, right? Because obviously the way that it's supposed to look is kind of like sort of dramatic, I guess is the best way to put it, when Goku pulls back, right, for that kick. And it kind of looks like a little bit blurred. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Obviously, when we're looking at it in slow motion, we need to go back a little bit more. It looks a little bit jarring, but in full motion, it looks really well animated. And the final kick looks fantastic. I like that they actually have Goku kind of light up and change colors a little bit to reflect the light actually shining on him from the kick. Almost like implying that Ki is actually shooting out of his foot, which is really cool. The kick is super satisfying, and obviously after that, we have Goku fly forward. This is almost a PNG flying forward, right? In the beginning of this, let me get a look at actually right here. Is it just a... Oh, no, okay. So his hair does move even when he is pretty far away, which is interesting. It just kind of looks like that, but I mean, I don't really know how else you would animate that, so I think that that's fine, honestly. And then we have Goku fly forward before teleporting away, and then obviously teleporting behind the enemy. I definitely like the anime-esque speed lines as well in the background, and the blast going off against the Cybermen looks really good too, with Goku chucking these, again, super stylized to GT. I think it all looks very good. This section is super cool too, with the explosions happening in the crater, and then obviously exploding out of it. I think that looks really good. Giving it a little bit of dimension too. And then we have Goku land in front of it, which is also a nice little touch. I have to imagine as well that this one will probably end up being a KO screen. I don't know if that's... I guess you would consider that almost more like an unintentional KO screen, because obviously, like, the one in the 18 key here is obviously like they meant for that to be the KO screen, and I believe this will only appear, I think, if you get the KO. So this one is more like a unintentional KO screen. I don't know if there's technically a term for that. But let's take a look at that 12 key super attack again real quick. Again, like, it's just so well done. I think that they were really in their bag, as the expression goes, for this one when it comes to mimicking how it looked in the anime, right? It's just very stylized to it. They basically mimicked it to a T, right? And it is interesting here, I will say, right? Taking the animations from regular Super Saiyan 4 Goku from a couple of different scenes, right? You can see like some of this is from the baby fight, some of it is fighting the shadow dragons, and obviously combining it together. Oops, we went a little bit too far back. And obviously combining it together to make a fluid animation. If I didn't know any better, I would just say that all of these attacks happened in a string. But as you can see, that is absolutely not the case. And ironically enough, most of these attacks are actually happening when he's normal Super Saiyan 4. But I guess that makes sense because, you know, the full power Super Saiyan 4, I guess, doesn't have as many animations to take from. So it makes sense that they would take it from regular Super Saiyan 4. But yeah, very, very well done. And I think this is a very good example of a good, you know, version of Dokkan kind of splicing a couple of scenes together, because sometimes there's moments like this in super attacks where you can tell that they splice it together because they have these really weird in between transition scenes where they're just trying to make it work, and you can tell that it's kind of spliced together. But with this, I think if you didn't have the original source material side by side, you would not be able to tell. I think the only thing that's a bit of a shame, honestly, from this is probably this scene, that, you know, the smoke that is surrounding Goku, because obviously this is kind of an iconic kick for Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? The smoke that surrounds Goku when he gives the kick is not really present, obviously, for the actual version. And the follow-through is, like, kind of cut off because they then give it to the far-away asset, right? Whereas, obviously, the kick would then be going by the screen in the actual, like, anime, right? Like here, right? You have it then just directly cut to the small one, obviously kicking. So that is a bit of a shame that they didn't do that full follow through. But again, not a huge loss. I still think that it looks really, really good. Okay, moving on to our final animation of the day. I believe so, yes, because then obviously for Dokkan World's video here, the end of this is just Baby, which you took a look at in the beginning. So let's move on to the final animation, the 18 key for full power. First of all, right? Hold on. Hydrate or dihydrate. Don't forget to drink water, ladies and gentlemen. It is summertime. So, we have this very nice, animation of Goku obviously flying up here, right? Which I think is cool. I really like this red glow that they have around him. This, I believe, is the exact same asset as the one from before, where he finishes transforming. Let me see. It would be like here, right? Oh, no, I guess it is a little bit different. Yeah, no, that's certainly like the slightest bit different. It's not anything crazy, and I think it's definitely based on the same scene. But it is definitely a little bit different, because I think that face certainly looks better than this one a little bit, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Regardless, though, obviously, Goku gives us a little bit of flash of power, right, as he gives the smirk, which is really, really cool. I love that little touch that they animated that. The card art obviously appearing on screen very early on in the animation, actually, which is kind of interesting. We have Goku powering up here, which is really, really cool. And, of course, with this particular power-up, after the impact frame here, we get this really cool shot of the energy kind of coming out of Goku, and you can see that they actually color him to be a little bit more like shaded, right? So there's kind of a lot of more shadows present all over his body, which is a really cool touch. The electricity looks good, and obviously this yellow energy, I will say the yellow energy looks a little bit weird, but I'm pretty sure that is how it is in the anime, so you know, nothing too crazy there. Then this very cool shot of Goku kind of engulfed in yellow, which obviously is supposed to be like he's in the aura, or the energy rather, which is cool. Then obviously having that flood out and hit the enemy. This shot right here, dude, holy cow, they popped off with this one too. I feel like this one's going to be a little bit underrated, but this is such a small asset, and it looks so detailed, right? Ironically enough, this kind of reminds me of the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, where like baby Goku balls up and then like the great ape shows up in the background. That's kind of what this reminds me of. Maybe that is what that is based off of. But regardless though, looks really, really cool. Obviously Goku balling up, and then opening up his body to then kind of blast outright with a really cool impact frame there. Goku looks so good in this shot, and I like how the actual energy in the background transitions, right? Like you can see these darker orange lines kind of sprouting out of Goku right before he explodes. You can see that final explosion, and then this very nice glow in the background as obviously the ball gets super big and the explosion engulfs everything around it, including the rocks, which is really, really well done if I do say so myself. But we ain't done yet, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the beginning of the attack. Honestly, if this was just a regular Dokkan Fest, maybe that would be the end. But no, this is a Dokkan Fest Tanabata LR, ladies and gentlemen. We have Goku land, and I have to say that landing animation looks really, really good. He actually accounts for the impact a little bit as he twists his toes. You know what I mean. His toes land right, and you can see that he actually kind of braces for impact. His tail, actually, interestingly enough, does kind of twist a little bit there, which is really cool to see. But yeah, then we have Goku ready up for the Kamehameha, which is so fluid, dude. This entire animation, the only part that I can see that kind of skips in terms of like the pose, and it is kind of hard to see. It's kind of hard to catch because this is so fluid in between each other. There's a little bit of an asset change right there, but it's nothing too crazy. But I think the big one that you can maybe notice if you're really, really looking hard at these is when Goku is bringing his hands back here, right, to then be behind his body. You can see that the asset transitions from these little bit of harsher, darker lines to then these little bit of lighter lines that obviously are then this more high quality asset. But it's kind of hard to tell when you're looking at it in full motion. But obviously them pulling back. Dude, look at how good this looks. Oh my gosh. Obviously panning around, a little bit more rotoscoping at play as well. The only thing I wish was a little bit different about this, I think, is at the end, right? They do kind of cut it off a little bit, right? When we go from this beautiful rotoscoping here of Goku throwing the Kamehameha forward, right? Which looks really, really good. They kind of cut from this to this immediately, which I wish that they kind of just did the follow through, because then I feel like this animation would be like perfect, peak, like undeniable mankind perfection of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. But unfortunately they do kind of jump a little bit from here to here, but it's not gonna be the end of the world. It still looks really, really nice, and I think at least if they were gonna do it anywhere, that's a decent spot to do it, because now we then look from behind with the blast flying forward, which looks fantastic. And I like that they actually have it expanding Goku's hands as the debris and blast and light and all of the different specks of light come forward to absolutely decimate the area around the sprite, which looks fantastic. This is such a good ki blast. This particular section right here just looks so well done, dude. Holy cow, right out of the anime. And then obviously the destruction happening before we get to this shot. I didn't even notice this shot before. We have a little tiny Super Saiyan 4 Goku, obviously giving you a little bit of perspective kind of far off from Goku before we get to the KO screen right here, where Goku moves his hands down, gives his eyes a little bit of a squint, and then obviously smirks. Very, very cool KO screen, if I do say so myself. I will say, this KO screen makes me really sad, but not in any reason related to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. It makes me sad because this tells me that they were just being lazy with Gohan Beast. Because if you remember, with Gohan Beast KO screen, it is literally a PNG. Like when I looked in the assets for his animations, his KO screen is quite literally a single PNG, right? Where in the movie, obviously, once he fires the Kamehameha, he looks super focused, and then he kind of relaxes his body a little bit. With this KO screen, right, obviously Goku is very animated for this. Right, where obviously, I mean, not very animated, I guess, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but obviously, right, he does move his hands a little bit and then has the little smirk, right? That just tells me that they could have done it with Gohan Beast, but they actively chose to be lazy, which is just so unfortunate, because obviously it was such a hype release. But I am very glad that my boy Super Saiyan 4 Goku has it, because I think that that makes this KO screen all the better for it, just even that little simple animation. But yeah, that is the boy Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Actually, oops, before, hello, Dokkan World Showcase. Before we step out of this video, let's actually take a look at the 18 key in the final little bit here for the animation. I believe we should actually start here. Yeah, so that is cool that they actually do reference Goku flying up to baby right there. Very, very nice with Goku powering up. Obviously, the blast, right, getting expanded. Very, very cool. It's interesting as well because they kind of give a different implication for this, right? Because obviously they have Goku inside the blast for this, which makes sense. And obviously this one being inside the blast makes sense. Also, interesting that obviously, I mean, they're not going to have the enemy sprite make his own blast, but still kind of interesting to note that that's technically absent from this animation. The enemy gets hit by it, and you can kind of see that it's not exactly the same thing, right? Because obviously this is Goku then throwing his arms out and then kind of doing that little... But obviously for this, they kind of use it for the energy expansion, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, obviously this is not full power. And again, dude, combining all these different shots, I think they did a fantastic job compiling these. Because I know, and this, bro, this might even look better than the anime IMO. Maybe it's just a different art style. Maybe one's not necessarily better than the other. But by golly, dude, holy cow, they killed it on that. But I will say, sometimes when Dokkan combines scenes like this of different scenes, especially for the same animation, they kind of make it a little bit choppy and not as like fluid looking. But I think they nailed it in terms of combining all these different scenes together to make this animation possible for this guy. They did such a good job. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is Super Saiyan 4 Full Power Goku. Let me know what you think of this guy's animations in the comment section below. Personally, I think they absolutely nailed it. Not only did they absolutely peak, frankly, in terms of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, like I think this is probably the de facto best looking Super Saiyan 4 Goku in the game. But again, it's really cool to see that he kind of covers a lot of different moments from Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He's kind of a all-encompassing one, not necessarily just from the baby fight, but from a bunch of different scenes in the anime. And obviously not only making him as anime accurate as possible, but a lot of things where lesser Dokkan animations, like a lot of the monthly Dokkan Fest that we've been getting semi-recently and recently, have kind of been lacking in certain parts of the animations where there's little things that they could do to really make them feel a lot more lifelike that are absent in those animations that are definitely present, like bar none, in these animations here. And I think that definitely just goes to show you how much more they're focusing on the big celebrations and unfortunately kind of leaving the regular monthly Dokkan Fest to the wayside. It kind of makes me wonder if maybe they should like hire more hands. Again, I don't know exactly how development works for the animations, but it kind of seems like maybe they have the A team on these big boy celebrations and the B team on the other monthly units, unless it's the same guys and they just tell them cut corners a little bit. Obviously, I'm not sure how it works, but regardless, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that holy cow, this guy's animations are so good. And I know that he's also very good in terms of his kit. So it's awesome to see that not only is he good in game, he looks really, really good too. Let me know if you guys are summoning for this unit on JP, if you're hopping on JP, or if you already play JP like myself, and summoning for this bad boy, this Mama Gemma, or if you are very excited for this guy when he comes to a global. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully we will get a really cool villain part 2 LR for Tanabata. Obviously we'll be back for an animation analysis video for that if that does drop, which I'm assuming so because the last couple years we've gotten a villain for part 2 of Tanabata. But hope you guys have a fantastic day. Good luck if you are summoning for Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and I will see you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.